Hello and welcome back to your week with Mrs. O'Brien. Today we are going to be working on unit rates again. Yesterday we learned that a rate is a type of ratio that compares quantities with different units of measurement. So usually at least one of those units will be something like time or distance or volume, one of those types of measurements. Okay? And our unit rate is when we figure out how much it is for one. And our key words for those unit rates are each, every, per, a, or an. We find a unit rate by dividing. Let's take a look at our warm-up for today. Mrs. O'Brien needs to order black dry erase markers for the math department. She finds the choices below on Amazon. The Expo markers come in a pack of 12 for $9.08. The Volcanics markers come in a box of 30 for $9.99. If Mrs. O'Brien needs to order enough markers for the entire math department, which set of markers would be the better choice? Explain your reasoning. Okay, so how would we go about doing this? Well, if we think about what we learned with unit rates, one way that we can do this is by dividing to find the unit rate. Remember that when we are looking at unit price, the money is always on top. So our ratio for, or our rate for the Expos would be $9.08 for 12. And if we divide that on our calculators, then we get 0.75 and then a repeating 6. So we would need to round that off to say that they are about 76 cents. Good. So they are about 76 cents for each marker. Our Volcanics markers cost $9.99, and we get a box of 30 for that. So if we divide our $9.99 divided by 30, then we get 333 thousandths. And that is not a repeating decimal, it actually stops there. So if we round that off, we get 33 cents. So we can either pay 76 cents per marker or 33 cents per marker. If I only needed to buy a handful of markers, I might decide to just buy the Expos anyway, because I like the markers better, although I actually don't. Or but since I have to buy so many of them, we buy several hundred markers a year, then we definitely want to pay as little for our markers as possible while still getting a quality product. And we can see that we do still have a good rating on here. So this is a quality product and they work just as well as our Expos. Okay, now there are other reasons that you might choose to buy the Expos instead of the Volcanics, and any explanation that you had is good as long as it backs up your decision. All right, let's look at comparing unit rates. So if we want to compare rates, then the best way to do that is to divide both rates to turn them into unit rates and then make our comparisons. Let's look at a problem. Actually, let's do the bottom problem first. Mona rode her bicycle 135 miles in 9 weeks, riding the same distance each week. Eva rode her bicycle 102 miles in 6 weeks, riding the same distance each week. Which statement correctly compares the miles per week they rode? Okay, so we have Mona, 135 miles in 9 weeks, and then we have Eva, 102 miles in 6 weeks. So it looks like Mona rode her bike more miles, but the time lengths are not the same. So we can't just compare the number of miles that they rode. So we need to find that unit rate. So I'm actually going to make a little T-chart here for Mona, and I'm going to label it Mona. So go ahead and make a T-chart on your paper as well. So we know she does 135 miles in 9 weeks. So we want to know miles per week. That means the number, oops, I didn't label it. Miles in weeks. The number of weeks needs to be a 1. Okay, so now we can solve. So we need to divide 135 divided by 9. And we get 15. All right, so that's her unit rate, 15 miles per week. And now we're going to do the same thing for Eva. So I'll make her little T-chart of miles per week. She did 102 miles in 6 weeks. So how many for 1? So we take our calculator, 102 divided by 6, and we get 17. Okay? So who did more miles per week? Eva did, yeah, because she has 17 compared to Mona's 15. Now let's read the statements. A, Eva rode 17 more miles per week than Mona rode. Did Eva did 17 more? No, she did 2 more, right? When we compare them, it's plus 2. So A is not right. B, Mona rode 11 more miles per week than Eva rode. So is Ava's number, or Mona didn't even do more, right? So B is out. C, Eva rode 2 more miles per week than Mona rode. Is that true? Yes, because 17 is 2 more than 15. So it looks like C might be it. And then D, Mona rode, that's supposed to say Mona. Mona rode 3 more miles per week than Ava. So we know that is not true because it was Ava who did more. So C is our correct statement. Okay? So on these problems, because we're comparing 2 different rates, these little statements would have been really confusing and easy to mix up if we did not have our tables labeled with whose information belonged to who. So that was really important that we have Mona and Ava's names on their tables. All right, now let's go back up to the top. Avery and Mason are both swimming laps in the same swimming pool. Avery can swim 3 laps in 2 minutes. Mason can swim 5 laps in 4 minutes. Based on these rates, which statements are true? Choose 3 correct answers. Okay? So first, let's make a table for each person. So Avery is 3 laps in 2 minutes. So we'll say Avery, and we're doing 3 laps in 2 minutes. And then Mason is swimming 5 laps in 4 minutes. So Mason is 5 laps in 4 minutes. Okay, we can find our unit rate. Right, so that would be 1 minute for each of them. Okay, so if I'm dividing 3 divided by 2, then I get 1.5 for Avery. And then 5 divided by 4 is 1.25 for Mason. Why does it say Meso? There we go. All right, now let's read our statements. We are looking for 3 correct ones. First off, Mason's. We're going to use his T-chart. Mason can swim 6 laps in 5 minutes. Okay, is that true? Let's see. So right now we have 4 minutes or we have 1 minute. We're talking about 5 minutes here. So let's just add that to our table. Okay, so we would do, to get from 1 to 5, we would times it by 5. So we need to do 1.25 times 5. And that gives us 6.25. So let's go back and read the statement again. This says that Mason can swim 6 laps in 5 minutes. This is not 6 laps, it's 6.25 laps. So that is a no. Okay, next one. Avery can swim 6 laps in 4 minutes. Okay, so if we put 4 minutes on our table, that would be 2 times 2, right? So I can do 3 times 2 to get 6. Is that what the sentence said? 6 laps in 4 minutes? Yes. So this one is true. Okay. Next one, Mason can swim 2.5 laps in 2 minutes. So we're back to Mason's table, and we have 2 minutes. Well, 1 minute is 125, so double that would be 2.50 or 2.5. So that one is also true. Next, Mason can swim 0.5 laps farther than Avery in 2 minutes. Okay, so we need 2 minutes for both of them. We already have 2 minutes on Mason's table, but we don't have it on Avery's table yet. So, oh, no, actually we do. I'm sorry. We do have Mason's amount for 2 minutes right here, right? Okay, so if we compare them, is Mason's number 0.5 or 5/10 of a lap farther or more than Avery? No, that is not true. It's the opposite, right? Avery had more, so that is a no. And then last off, Avery can swim 2 laps farther than Mason in 8 minutes. So we need 8 minutes on our table. We already have 4, so 8 would be double that, right? So 6 times 2 would be 12. And then let's come over here to Mason. We need to know what Mason has. I'm going to use the 4 because it's a whole number. So from 4 to 8 is times 2. So 5 times 2 would be 10. Okay, so is Avery 2 laps farther than Mason? Yes, he is. So that is our other true statement. Okay. All right, so your assignment today is in Schoology. You will be dividing each rate to turn it into a unit rate, and then you'll be comparing. They may be asking you which one is more or which one is less, okay? You will have a couple of problems kind of like this one that we just did, and they are drag and drops. And see how I marked checks for the ones that were correct and X's for the ones that were not correct or not true? That's what you're going to do on the drag and drop. You're going to drag X's if they're wrong and checks if they're correct. Okay? All right, so go ahead and get into Schoology. Remember to refer back to your notes if you get confused or if you need some help. And have a great day.